The world and the scientific method teaches that all truth can be tested. In fact, the only way to draw real learning is through experimentation and observation. Consumerism places me at the centre of the world. It tells me to focus on my own happiness and my own experience in order to draw my own truth. And that's when we find ourselves in a postmodern world. It's a combination of those two things. It says that I have to experience something in order to draw my own truth. And young people have grown up in this world. It's the culture that they've been immersed in their whole lives. And I think that makes this passage even more relevant to today. In today's lectionary reading, Stephen is before the Sanhedrin, and they've challenged him that he's been speaking out against the temple and the law. Full of the Holy Spirit, Stephen responds, and he recounts the history of the Israelites, and then he calls out the Sanhedrin. And in Acts chapter 7, verse 51, he says, "Your hearts and your ears are still uncircumcised." Now, this is a challenge to the Sanhedrin because they believed that they had to be physically circumcised in order to be right with God. And what Stephen is saying is that they've done a physical act, but it hasn't changed who they are as people. It hasn't brought them into deeper relationship with God. And therefore, he's saying that their physical circumcision was meaningless. Stephen says to the Sanhedrin that the circumcision is a pointless ritual without the Holy Spirit. And it goes on to say in this passage, Stephen says to them, "You always resist the Holy Spirit." And for us, it is by the Holy Spirit that we can have a relationship with Jesus. It is by the Holy Spirit that we can be transformed more into God's likeness. And it is by the Holy Spirit that we can pursue a life of godliness and purity. Stephen says, without the Holy Spirit, your physical circumcision is a waste of time. As we read on in the passage, Stephen is stoned to death for the things that he said to the Sanhedrin. And even Saul, who later becomes Paul and carries the gospel to the rest of the known world, is for the stoning of Stephen. If we want to engage with the world around us, we cannot expect young people to be drawn to ritual or faith by reasoning. It is only by an experience of the Holy Spirit that young people are going to come to know Jesus Christ. So during self-isolation, whilst you're at home, don't think about this as a time of separation from God, but actually an opportunity for you to seek out new ways to engage with the Holy Spirit. God is not static. He will move to where you are at. I love John chapter 1, verse 14 in the Message version. It says, "The Word became flesh and moved into the neighborhood." Jesus is already at work in your home and in your street. We don't need to do anything special to conjure him up. Just open your eyes, look to see where he's already working, and go and join in.